All right, we begin, I think. And let's see, this is our team. Myself, Ivor Ambrose, I'm the Managing Director of ENAT. Anna Grazia Laura is ENAT President. Katarina Papamichail is the architect and specialist in universal design and accessibility. And Małgorzata Tokarska is, or Margaret as we call her, is one of our team members. She's from the Office of Accessible Poland Tours, Accessible Tours Poland. We've all been taking part in the Access IT project. The IT stands for innovation for accessibility in natural and rural areas. The project is coordinated by the University Społeczna Akademia Noir in Poland. They couldn't be here with us today, so I can't say much about them, except they're based in Łódź in Poland, where we had the kickoff meeting almost 3 years ago. So this project is coming to an end now, and we thought this was the right time to present the results of the project and the tools that are intended to help the business sector in working with accessibility. The key problem of accessibility for many small businesses is they don't really know how to grasp it. Who are the people that they are seeking to bring in, and how to deal with their cater for their needs. And so we're going to go through a very brief list of presentations for you. We will be seeing here if I can just go forward in the program. We'll be hearing from Anna Grazia Laura, who will talk about what is accessible tourism and why accessibility matters to your business. So really we're focusing on or addressing small businesses in this training today. So when we say you and your, we're referring mostly to businesses, but also we've opened this training, of course, to those who are teaching in vocational training and education on accessibility in tourism. We will be talking about Access IT how-to guides. This is one of our main tools for bringing the information to the service providers, and with a focus on how to do certain things which will improve the quality of the accessibility and the work that you do. We will also be introducing the benchmarking tool and how accessible is your business. This is an online tool which I'll take you through later. And we'll be talking about how to involve stakeholders in the development of accessible products. And by that time, in the last half hour, this is not a structured question and answer section. We think there'll be plenty of questions by then and comments on what you've heard. And we would like to take that through for 20 minutes or so and talk to you at the end. So please save most of your questions to the end, but there are some question and answer moments where you can also get involved and ask something for clarification or come with a comment about how you see a particular issue. So we will now go, if I can just go forward, we go forward to the next speaker. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen here, and I will ask Anna Grazia Laura to talk about what is accessible tourism and why is it important to small businesses in natural and rural areas. So I stop my sharing now. Anna Grazia, you are, I think, able to share your screen for us. Thank you.
Okay, many thanks, and welcome to every participant. I hope that you will find this webinar important and interesting for you and your activities. I would like to ask you to give me the timings, because normally I tend to speak a lot. So give me the sign when I am 2 minutes away from my limit.
Will do. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So let me start by saying what is our mission as ENAT in terms of accessible tourism, and it's to make European products and services accessible to all travelers and to promote accessible tourism around the world. And what is really accessible tourism? What we have in mind when we talk about accessible tourism? In terms of universally designed tourism, it's to make environments, venues, and services suitable for the widest range of customers. This means that we should include seniors, families with small children, people with disabilities, people with long-term health conditions, and many, many more. And we have to ensure equal opportunities to all these, let's say, audience to enjoy tourism experiences in full comfort, safety, and sustainability. It means inclusion. It means including everyone in any possible tourism experience. And when I mean everyone, you have here a range of possible requirements that tourists might have. They might be full-time accessibility requirements. They might be temporary accessibility requirements, but in any case, accessible tourism should give the possibilities to everyone to participate. And I would like also to stress the fact that accessible tourism is not special. It's not something that you have to consider out of every tourism experience. It's part of every kind of offer. So it means that if you offer accommodation, you have to be aware of the fact that you have to consider accessible tourism and people with access requirements to be part of your audience. In adventure, culture, gastronomy, they may participate to conferences and fairs, to education, to sports and events, and whatever you may add as a tourism experience, they all fall within this long list of possibilities. And we should not forget also that 70 to 80% of disabilities are not visible. It means that you have to be very careful when you talk to customers to be aware that they might express specific access requirements, even if you don't grasp them at the very beginning. So be ready to ask and to consider everything that your future customers or present customers should express in order to enjoy their experience completely. So let's see how to proceed, and let's see what we have to consider. What do the customers need and want in accessible tourism? They need information, they need customer service, they need facilities that are able to cater for them, transport, and a built environment which is user-friendly. And you will be hearing about that a lot from other speakers, but I just wanted to focus on a few, let's say, top hints that would help you to be able and ready to welcome accessible tourism. These are some of the most interesting tourist destinations randomly selected. But what is the thread that is uniting all of them? People with specific access requirement need to know to what extent these destinations are good for them. So this means the first column that I presented, information. It means that they should be able to get and find correct and accurate information, because this will give them the power to choose which might be the most reasonable and usable destination for them. They might not be available at the moment, and this is one of the tasks that you will be asked to provide correct information. You will learn later on how exactly you have to behave in order to collect and distribute them. But information is the basis to be able to attract a customer. How these information should be in order to be usable. They should be easy to find, in accessible formats, reliable, accurate, and of course, up to date. An accessibility guide is something that I'm just giving you a first glimpse of what is an accessibility guide. Is something that you might find extremely useful for yourself, for your facility, for your customers, as well as for your staff. Customer service is another pillar which is extremely important in order to be able to interrelate with your customers in a comfortable and acceptable way. Customer service means that you have to see the customer and not the disability. And this is absolutely important because your customer is a person, your customer is a tourist, and this is let's say the framework and the visual that you have to have about customers with specific access requirement. And then you have to be able to ask the customers, how can I help you? And more important, you have to be able to ask for their feedback, because their feedback will be important for you to modify, if necessary, your business and the way you deliver your service. Let me just mention very quickly the United Nations Convention of People with Disabilities. One of the convention itself aims to promote, protect, and ensure full and equal enjoyment of all human rights, but we have to focus, particularly in this case, on Article 30, which requires equal access to participation in cultural life, including leisure, tourism, and sports. And it's important to know that almost 177 states parties have already ratified the convention, and 92 states the optional protocol. It means that in those states, the convention is a national law. So, what is accessible tourism about? It's about ethics, as we've seen in the convention, is about human rights, is about business. As a matter of fact, accessible tourism is about all of this. And it should provide a world of tourism opportunity for everyone. And these we have to take into account very clearly. We're not being just good if we offer accessible tourism. We are also good for our business. Just a few figures that are dating back a few years, but they might not be so different from the situation now, even if we pass through the COVID experience. Accessible tourism generates 400 billion revenues per annum and is expected to grow. As a matter of fact, growth has been stopped, but the number of people that want to have accessible tourism that are, let's say, aiming to have a positive way of traveling and enjoy themselves is the same. It represents the 3% of the total European GDP, and it supports 9 million jobs. It was supported 9 million jobs, and it might support 9 million jobs in the future, let's say. But only 9% of the European touristy services promote themselves as accessible. This means that there is an enormous gap between what can be offered and what is actually offered. And let's say that we have to consider different kind of market areas. Seniors, for instance, are 65% of the accessible tourism market. And they are important. Why? 1 in 5 persons in Europe are over 60, they travel, they take more trips per year, they have most discretionary income, and they are active. They want to travel and enjoy themselves. Travel companions are also adding to your possibility of welcoming tourists. People with access need travel with 1.9 companions on average. It means that people with disabilities have 2.2 companions and older people 1.6 companions. It will almost double the market that you will be able to tackle. They stay longer, spend more, make more repeat visits the years. Now, the situation of COVID has brought us from a very big rising forecast in the tourist flows in the world to, let's say, feedback and to a setback that is gradually seeing now a few symptoms of recovery. We also have to consider that poor accessibility is causing a loss for the tourist sector of 142 billion per year and more than 3.5 million jobs. And these are the reasons why this market is important for you. How it's has to be considered and how has to be taken into consideration in your strategies and plans. The future of tourism now is also subject to a number of megatrends that are transforming it, demographic changes, and emerging markets. Emerging markets might be in the back for a while due to the recovery actions and steps that post-COVID experience will take into consideration. Sustainability, travel mobility, and new technologies. All these have implications for the tourism sector in general and for accessible tourism in particular. Post-COVID, for instance, let's go back to aging population. They are still the population with more economic possibilities, but they are stuck for fear of pandemic risks, which are still available, they are still present in the world. Millennials and the new generation, they are ready to travel, but they have a diminished purchasing power due to the fact that many jobs were lost in the pandemic period. We have to consider new technology and consumption behavior. Two big drivers: social media, that would increase or reduce the reputation of destinations and businesses. And this is an item that you have to consider very carefully, because on social media, tourists become testimonials and share the judgment on tourist attraction services, determining the web reputation of destinations and companies and their brand image. If it is positive, is good. If it is negative, is very, very, very bad. Virtually and augmented reality, this also has the potential to create substitute experiences that may be particularly beneficial for people with specific access requirements. Slow tourism is another sector that is developing and is considering to be the way to get away from the spread and speed of traveling. This is particularly important for rural tourism, for instance, discovery of lesser known places and relationship with local communities. Slow tourism has a strong link to accessible tourism, and this is an opportunity for all the companies that are active in rural areas to take this opportunity as a possibility to develop their profits and their strategies.
Yeah, 2 minutes, thank you.
Okay, tourism has been badly hit by COVID, and it's hard to foresee a strong recovery in this year or next year. And the sector has been already hampered by the effect of the Russia-Ukraine war. It gives a sense of insecurity and a possible increase in the cost of traveling. And this has been addressed by promoting Europe as a safe destination, but still the negative effects might be there. So the body like UNWTO are providing tools to tourism operators to reopen tourism for traveling with disabilities without imposing unnecessary obstacles in terms of COVID, and to give you a number of good practices on these accessibility and inclusive tourism development in nature areas. I've provided you with a link to this document. It's very important for you to go and read it because it gives you a number of practices in many, many countries. So for instance, in Spain, for the networks, and at world level, with the Blue Flag as a promoter of accessible tourism on beaches. We and ENAT are cooperating with Blue Flag to revise the global accessibility criteria for beaches, marinas, and tour boats, and we are a member of the Blue Flag Evaluation Committee. So how I have to think of the future? Regenerate ourselves, shift the focus from growing numbers to the inclusion of local communities, allowing them to say which kind of tourism they want. And this has the possibility to create a community that chooses its own way of welcoming, and it will be more open, more inclusive, and more accessible, as the example of Visit Flanders is showing us. So finally, how to proceed? Develop national and regional policies and action plans, and this means cooperation with you that are the tourism active part of the sector and public bodies. Try to engage with the international network, improve skills, training and education, like this webinar is trying to provide you with additional tools that could bring you to improve the offer and improve communication and information in order to be able to reach your customers in a better way. So accessibility from start to finish, ensuring inclusive experiences for all and leaving no one behind. Thank you. I'm ready to get any questions, if any.
Okay, thank you, Anna Grazia. Does anyone have a comment or a question on Anna Grazia's presentation as we digest some of all those many messages that were part of her presentation? No? Otherwise, yes, Martin, you got your hand up there, please. Martin, unmute yourself.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi. I've a question about the market loss numbers that are presented. I've heard them many times, like how many the millions or billions are lost for non-accessible and their jobs. Where do those numbers come from? How do you calculate them, roughly speaking? If I wanted to give this information to somebody else.
Those numbers, as I said in my presentation, they are a bit old because they come out of a big survey, big study that the European Commission launched back in 2014. And they've been published in 2016, so they were able to catch the latest figures that were let's say, processed by the study. So this is the source of the numbers, but as I said, even if COVID has interrupted the real flow of travel, those numbers are still valid because they still represent the world of customers with specific access requirements. There might be a few differences, question of 0.00%, but the bulk idea of a huge market is still there. I hope I answered your question.
I just rattled off in the chat there that we can put the link to the specific documents there, Martin. It's from mainly the University of Surrey and others who were responsible for that part of the studies in 2014. Okay, but good question, always. Thank you. Let's jump back into my presentation. Thank you, Anna Grazia. Thank you very much. And you'll be back later, I'm sure.
Yeah,
right. So I'm jumping back into my presentation, and here now we shall try to, if you can all see that. I'm going to talk now about how the Access It project has thought about what we can do best to encourage businesses to work on accessibility. So actually we have an interactive business support toolkit of several parts. And this presents, of course, a set of how-to guidelines, how to do things, which you'll be hearing about shortly. And these are aimed at specific businesses. So hang on, just go a bit further. These guidelines focus on the who, the what, and the how. So who is interested or responsible for something? What do they need to do? And how do they need to do it? So pretty basic questions, really. And actually, we try to keep it simple, but to help the tourism enterprises reach new customers, develop new products and services, and to actually just to improve their business. That's what it's all about. So the how-to guidelines, the first one is how to assess accessibility of a tourism product and service. The second one is how to address the requirements of the target customer segments. The third guideline is how to develop a truly accessible tourism offer and meet demand. The fourth is how to bring to market and promote an accessible product. And the last one, the fifth, is how to involve stakeholders in the development of accessible products. So that should provide a sort of 360-degree view of where to go with your accessibility as a small business. I'm not sure, was there one more slide here to just, yes. So these guidelines are available as e-publications. There are PDFs online, and they are in draft form at the moment, but they're already on the website. So the final versions will be accessible PDFs and written in a friendly manner, we hope, short and straightforward to the point. There is a sort of 15 to 20 page long document, and there's a short document of 2 pages about each guide. We have also a web-based tool for self-assessment or audit of SMEs, so that the business owner or manager can see how well they're doing. And this will give results back as a sort of mind map, telling people how they're doing and what to do next. And then we've developed some scenarios for practical sessions like this one, but ones that businesses can also use as a training package as well for their staff. So the whole idea is to support small and medium-sized enterprise managers to develop and improve their business. So I'll stop sharing now, and I'll invite Katerina Papamichail from our team to share her slides and look at the first how-to guide. Katerina, thank you.
Thank you, Ivor. Thank you. Good morning to all, and welcome to the webinar. I will present to you the first and the second guideline of the Access It project. I'll start sharing my screen. So I will go on with the first guideline: how to assess accessibility of a tourism product or service. This guideline, all the guidelines are structured on the what, the who, and the how. And for this guideline on the what, we will talk about the effective partnership and cooperation across many sectors and across the whole tourism supply chain. Because without this cooperation, without linking all the partners and all the parts, we cannot have an accessible offer. Then is dealing with what is this accessible supply chain, and as I will talk to you about later in this presentation, about the visitor journey. The who is about all those who are involved in planning and developing tourism offers, and the how is about the goal, which is the provision of objective, reliable, and up-to-date information about the accessibility of venues and services which are accessible to visitors with disabilities, impairments, or other specific access requirements. And this is a very, very important task. Let's see about the how. let's see, what is this visitor journey? It's about the very beginning, from planning and booking, traveling, going to the destination, and then going back and sharing and recollecting the experience. And here you can see it's the visitor journey phases, which is connected with other steps within this process and touch points. For example, for booking, we need accurate, reliable, and accessible information, because people want to know where they're going to go, what they're going to find before they decide the destination or the facility or the accommodation they're going to use. And they also need accessible websites, accessible information to book. So that's an important step in the beginning. Then traveling to the destination, they also need information about traveling, and they need accessible transport means to go to the destination. Then they need overnight accommodation. They have to find accessibility and information and accessible accommodation facilities. And for the food and beverage, they have to go and eat and enjoy staying in the destination. So everything, the restaurant, the cafes, they have to be accessible with layout, with spaces, and with accessible menus. What we call accessible menus is menus suitable for people with that are requiring special diets. And also it's important how these meals are presented to the different darker groups to be in accessible formats so everybody can have the information. It's about mobility and local transport in the destination, about the activities that they would like to do, services and supplies, shopping, cultural experience. And the last step, sharing and recollecting the experience, going back to their country, recollecting the experience, talking to people and to the media, the social media, about their experiences, which is also important, because if they have good experience, they will share this good experience to their friends and to other people, with other people. Going to the who has to do all this, who is involved in all this process, is the business owners and the managers who have to require accessibility. They want to know, they want to require that their premises and their offer is accessible. And through this, they will ensure the quality of the specific offer for all the customers, because accessibility is about the quality. Because as we will see later, and as Anna Grazia, Laura said before, it's about everybody. It's about universally designed facilities and offers. Who else is involved is the employees or external contractors in charge of developing and designing websites and applications. Without an accessible website, it is difficult for the customers to find information and decide and book. And also the others who are involved is the accessibility experts, who they can carry out access audits, assessing the premises and the services. They can support the businesses to deliver an access guide informing about the accessibility of their offer, and also develop with them an accessibility action plan, all the actions that they need to continuously improve their accessibility, because improving the accessibility and delivering an accessible offer is not just one moment thing, one day thing, 1 year thing. It's a continuous process. And also it's all employees that they can play a role in checking and addressing accessibility in their everyday duties if they have the suitable training, when they will understand what is needed, when they will have a training to understand customers' requirements, they will be able to notice things and to contribute to this teamwork. It's important to remember, as I said before, that all customers will benefit, as accessibility means and ensures better quality, comfort, and safety for all. The how is how to gather information about the accessibility of facilities and services. It's about making an access audit, assessing buildings, facilities, and the physical environment. The main objective of an access audit is to check accessibility in terms of approaching, how you reach a destination, entering the facility, and using the environment or the facility for its intended purpose. And this is done by using tools and checklists to see what are the things that you have to assess. And also very important and useful is testing with users who have different access requirements. They can easily check if it is well done and suitable for them. The access audits may be carried out by accessibility experts individually, or those that they are cooperate with accessibility information schemes, or by building managers and owners as guided self-assessed. What I mean by this, because they can do self-assessment guided by checklists, by schemes that they provide checklists, that they give information and guidance what and how to assess, like projects like the Visit England Accessibility Guide and the Pantu Access Statement Template, which is also providing a photo and measurement guide. Because when assessing an establishment, is necessary not only to give dimensions and descriptions, but also to provide photos, which are very important, and they give a very clear picture to the customers. And also it's important to know what to measure and how to measure. That's an example of the Pantu photo measurement guide. It shows how to take a picture and what you have to measure. And also in the access audits, it's important to mention the services offered. For example, if there are accessible transport means like taxis, and if there are accessible shuttle buses, for example, for a hotel. Some examples of how the audits are carried out. It's about how to reach a building, and it's about auditing and measuring and giving information about the parking spaces. And an example about a room in a hotel, key issues that they have to be checked.
Okay, somehow we lost Katerina's connection. Well, sorry about the pause there, but she was well into the presentation, nearing the end of the presentation actually. And she has a short video to show us as well. Let's just give her a second or two, and I think she'll be back. So Danelli, you were asking about a live transcription, but we're going to produce the video after this. So this will all be recorded on video, and from that there's an option to make a transcription of the on-screen text. But we can do that afterwards. Thank you. Anyone with a question at the moment or a comment?
Yes, actually, I think I unmuted myself. And
Good, go ahead. Yes.
I'm curious. You did say these guidelines. I was looking at them up on the Access It website.
Okay.
They are available, but they're still on draft form, or
in fact they are not the final. We put them there because we want to get we wanted to get moving with the training sessions actually, and so they will be slightly adjusted, adapted before they are the real thing. Yes. What's your question? Is that it?
The question was if they're suitable to use to start guiding someone, or myself guiding someone.
Yes, I'll tell you, the main issue is we need to do some sort of screening, just little things, terminology, consistency across the whole set of guidelines. So there's a few terminology issues, a little bit of linguistic. We've got many different languages in the project, and it's always inevitable. You need to have a general editing at the end. So we'll be doing that. But they're ready to go, and I'm not so sure you know Spanish, don't you, Martin? So I don't know how the Spanish one looks, but I think that should be pretty good. But we'll come back to that.
Hello.
Hello. Yes, please go ahead, Katarina. I've just taken it forward from.
I am sure. I'm so sorry about this.
Yeah.
I don't know. It threw me out.
Yes. Okay.
It's an internet problem.
Go ahead. Yeah.
Okay.
And
sorry.
I'll show the slides from here.
You're sharing the screen.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So I was saying about the importance of developing an access guide to deliver the information, but the access guide and assessing the premises is also very useful for the owners to find out the gaps about their business and their offer. So they will go and take the decision to improve. Next slide, please. Access audits is important, an access audit, for providing, as I said, accurate information and also to learn about the accessibility. And it's starting from the small scale to the large scale. And every improvement is worthwhile and need not need to cost a lot of money, because some businesses, they might find out they have a lot to do. And for some businesses, it might be easier, but this shouldn't stop anyone. Every little improvement, it's really worthwhile doing. And then if you do these improvements, because maybe sometimes it's not possible to do everything, you will find out how many more you can do, and at least you can offer better service to a range of users. In the following video, we will see an example of the 300-year-old farmhouse that offers holiday accommodation. Is one of the 12 videos that we have in this in the Access It project. The owner, you will see, has made an access audit and has decided to make improvements. Can you show the video, please?
En el vídeo Comprobar problemas de accesibilidad en instalaciones, mostramos cómo se puede analizar un complejo rural de manera sencilla y rápida. Es así como repasamos todo el complejo buscando obstáculos de accesibilidad. A continuación elaboramos un informe de 2 páginas con sugerencias para mejoras. Esta lista se repasó con la propiedad y definimos las medidas a implementar. El siguiente paso es buscar y localizar todo aquel material que nos hará falta. Buscamos en páginas web. Iniciar la búsqueda con palabras como equipamiento discapacidad genera otras sugerencias relevantes. Tiendas online facilitan equipamiento técnico como pasamanos, asientos VC o rampas móviles. En los grandes almacenes de bricolaje es fácil encontrar pasamanos y otros elementos básicos a buen precio. También las tiendas especializadas de ortopedia nos pueden asesorar.
Pues después de analizar y de revisar y visitar todo el alojamiento, hemos decidido realizar una serie de mejoras y adaptaciones en ciertas partes, y esto es lo que se ha acordado.
Aquí podemos ver algunas de las soluciones en simulación. Rampas fijas o móviles, para uso con silla de ruedas sin necesidad de asistente, deben tener una inclinación de 10% o menos. Los pasamanos son fáciles de ubicar en paredes. Una mejor solución, aunque no siempre estéticamente agradable, son barandillas. No fue posible ampliar la puerta del baño y adaptarlo para usuarios en silla de ruedas. Pero montamos pasamanos que facilitan los movimientos para usuarios que pueden cubrir distancias cortas andando. Colocamos un plato de ducha a nivel del suelo. Sustituimos la cabina por cortinas y colocamos una silla. Las bandejas para objetos se colocaron a baja altura. Otros aspectos importantes son procurar suelos planos pero con superficie algo rugosa para evitar resbalones. Textos en letras grandes y gruesas, legibles incluso sin necesidad de gafas. Equipos de alarma sonora y señal luminosa a la vez. Los obstáculos en zonas con poca visibilidad son muy peligrosos. El reflejo al tacto consigue, por ejemplo, bajar la cabeza antes de chocar si colocamos objetos blandos. La inversión material, sin incluir el montaje para estas medidas, no llega a 500 euros. Algunas de ellas son prácticamente gratis. No son soluciones perfectas, pero ya conseguimos una relevante mejora de accesibilidad para complejos rurales tan bellos como este.
Okay, thank you, Ivor. That was an example of a small business that could do small improvements, but very important improvements to support and to make it more accessible, so more people can have enjoy the facility and have more comfort and more safety in these premises. So this is the message, that we start from little things and we go to the scale of bigger things, and we continue improve, because what we make for a target group, the improvements, it's good for everyone.
Okay, thank you, Katerina. Can I ask you to go straight on with the next presentation?
Yes, I will try.
Your screen this time, if you can.
Yes, thank you, and I hope it's going to be all right now.
Yeah, fingers crossed. Thank you.
Okay. So the second guideline is how to address the requirements of the target customer segments, customer target groups. Again, the guideline is about the what, the who, the how. The what is a target market, what we mean by a target market, segmenting the market, and which are the target groups. On the who, the guideline is referring to the four main subgroups of customers that they want to find accessible travel services. And these are the customers, the four main groups, with physical impairments, sensory impairments, cognitive impairments, and long-term health conditions. And how? By identifying the target group's needs and taking accessibility measures for key services and facilities to meet the needs of the four target groups. The what. What we mean by target market, which is one part of the total market for a good service in general. Consumers who make up a target market share similar characteristics, including age, gender, origin, place of residence. That's the general, how generally is a segment, a market segment. Identifying the target market is an essential step for any company in the development of a marketing plan. Not knowing who the target market is could cost a lot of money and a time for a company, and it will not be a good service. In this guideline, the target groups of the accessible tourism market are identified as having common specific access requirements. These are the target groups. The four main subgroups are the people with access requirements related to physical impairments, people with access requirements related to sensory impairments, people with access requirements related to cognitive impairments, and people with access requirements related to long-term health conditions. In reality, these are the four main groups that we have to know their requirements. This is the basis to offer to have an accessible offer. But in reality, it is about the comfort and safety of everyone, because this is the foundation of a universally designed approach service. Businesses who promote themselves as accessible or would like to offer accessible services should design their offer taking into account the specific access requirements of customers who belong to these target groups, understanding, though, that all customers will benefit. Here in the pictures, you can see the representative pictures of these 4 subgroups. The who. What are the types of businesses and service providers that they have to cater for these customers? Is the accommodation businesses, hotels, hostels, motels, holiday homes, tourist information agencies and travel agencies, public use toilets wherever these are offered and parking areas, and cultural facilities like community centers, theaters, cinemas, and museums. In the picture, you can see an accessible hotel room, how an accessible parking is designed, offering these designated areas and with the suitable dimensions and suitable signage, accessible public use toilet, and also museums, accessible museums for people with physical impairments and people with the tactile exhibits for people with sensory visual impairments in this picture. Also, other businesses is the food and beverage, restaurant, cafes and bars. For restaurants, they have to have an accessible layout, enough spacious layout for people to move around easily, and important when they are self-service to have buffets in a suitable height that everybody individually and can serve themselves, people using wheelchairs, kids that they are short, they can reach and serve themselves and see the food and enjoy. And also recreation and relaxation places like swimming pools, gyms, playgrounds, public gardens, parks, sport facilities and resorts, and also retail, which is also an important component of the accessible market.
I have to speed you up a bit, Katerina. Now.
Yes, yes. The how, developing accessible tourism service and facilities. So for people with access requirements related to physical impairments, the guideline gives examples for these 4 target groups. We talk about accessible parking, accessible communication routes and paths, bells and switches. You can see in the picture with the accessible door, which is an automatic door, and it has a push button activated when activating the door, which is a good example, not only for people with using a wheelchair, but you can see in the picture is a woman who had an accident during the holidays. So this is the message that everybody can benefit. We talk about accessible lifts and also about accessible toilets and bathrooms. And here you can see an example of a rolling shower, which is suitable for people with physical impairments, but also for everyone. And then it's focusing also on people with sensory and impairments, hearing and visual, communicating with deaf people and people with hearing impairments. These are some highlights with using hearing enhancement systems like hearing loops, face-to-face communication techniques, accessible websites, as we said before, and also catering for guide dogs and assistant dogs that people with sensory impairments use and need to have support. And for people with requirements related to cognitive impairments, some examples: easy to follow information, easy reading format, and using pictograms that they aid communication and understanding, and also allowing time and space for quiet and easy conversation without stress. And just examples for people with requirements related to long-term health conditions. For example, the nutrition offer, offering special diet meals, information about ingredients and allergens, which is very important for everyone, and especially for people that require special diets. It's about the food preparation and the kitchen equipment, a non-smoking policy and providing good air quality, and also involving volunteers, students of various specialized faculties that can learn and support in preparing the meals and the food. And now going on the how is the guideline is talking about developing accessible tourism services and facilities. How about the chain of accessibility? Because an accessible tourism offer is built up of many parts as linked together. The chain of accessibility is reaching, using, and enjoying the venue and what this venue has to offer. From arrival to departure, the visitor must be guaranteed an unbroken chain of accessible experience. Otherwise, the experience will be spoiled. Here is one, I will show you a video, one of the 12 videos, an example of how the Play and Train organization in Catalonia has developed a ski resort for all. So you can read the subtitles. Let's see if this time we can play the video. Can you play it, Ivor?
Yes, I'm taking you to the page where we have the 12 videos, and we need this one. Here we go.
Play and Train es una asociación sin ánimo de lucro declarada de utilidad pública que tiene como objetivo poner a disposición de personas con discapacidad y sus familias el acceso a la práctica deportiva. Utilizamos el deporte como herramienta para normalizar, incluir y educar a personas con y sin discapacidad. Play and Train gestiona el centro de deporte adaptado de la estación de montaña de La Molina desde hace más de 10 años. Ofreciendo actividades deportivas adaptadas en el medio natural durante todo el año. El esquí es uno de los deportes con mayor adaptabilidad para personas con discapacidad, ya sea física, psíquica o sensorial. El material utilizado es muy variado, con un gran nivel de desarrollo y comodidad. Para poder practicar cualquier deporte o actividad adaptada, es imprescindible contar con un entorno accesible. La estación de montaña de La Molina, en colaboración con la Fundación Johan Cruyff y la asociación Play and Train, lleva años trabajando para lograr unas instalaciones accesibles para todos. El centro de deporte adaptado dispone de plazas de aparcamiento preferentes para personas con discapacidad, una amplia entrada en llano y baño adaptado. Además, se encuentra frente a una pista de debutantes de uso preferente para personas con discapacidad, donde disponemos de una cinta remontadora para facilitar el acceso a las pistas de esquí. Otro aspecto a tener en cuenta es el material adaptado. Debido a su alto coste, es uno de los mayores retos en la práctica del deporte adaptado. Por esta razón, Play and Train, a través de donaciones y colaboraciones, lleva años adquiriendo diferente tipo de material adaptado, facilitando así el acceso de más personas al mundo de la nieve. Desde Play and Train, cada año se realiza una formación específica de esquí adaptado para instructores de esquí y snowboard. Creemos que es imprescindible contar con profesionales que entiendan las necesidades de cada persona. Cada año, más de 500 personas con discapacidad, junto con sus familiares y amigos, pueden disfrutar del deporte y de la montaña con todos los beneficios que ello conlleva. Para lograrlo ha sido clave la adaptación de la estación, haciendo accesibles sus diferentes servicios y remontes. También el esfuerzo de Play and Train para disponer de una gran variedad de material adaptado que cede gratuitamente en sus clases de esquí. Y por último, contar con un equipo de profesionales formados y especializados que entienden de la importancia de romper barreras y avanzar hacia una sociedad donde todas las personas tengan los mismos derechos y oportunidades.
Thanks, Katharina. We'll have to press on. Time is not our friend today. And we got Margaret in the wings, waiting to give our here a presentation on preparing a day tour. So, Margaret, please put on your microphone and we'll hear what you have to say.
Okay, the first slide, yes. So, good morning, everyone. It's my pleasure to share some experiences about Tourists for All. In this presentation, I would like to explain how to organize a day tour for people with mobility impairments, to avoid unexpected obstacles during the tour and make our customers satisfied. Can I have the slide? Yes, this one. Why am I so aware of all requirements regarding accessible services? You can see in the photo that I am disabled myself. I have been disabled for all my life. I'm not going to tell you how old I am, but anyway, for a long time. I can say that, as Ivor mentioned, I'm also a tour operator for people with disabilities in Poland, specializing in service for people with mobility impairments, and especially focusing on wheelchair users. That's why I can say I'm an expert, yes, from personal experience and as a tourist professional. Could I ask for the next slide? What should tour operators remember if they want to meet the demands of tourists with accessible requirements? Sometimes I think that the tourist sector in general is very scared of the customers with disabilities and is not interested in preparing and selling offers for them. Why? Maybe they don't understand things or don't know how to talk to them. Far too many people in the tourist sector forget about two crucial factors. Firstly, clients with disabilities also work and earn money. While going on holiday, on business, they want to be treated in the same way as able-bodied customers and receive the good service. Secondly, the tourist sector can also benefit, especially from these customers, because the customers choose to have their holiday in the low season when there are not many tourists. Can I have the next slide? A tour operator who is organizing this type of activity must remember that each tour is unique and requires an individual approach to the range of different client needs. Having a plan B for all major aspects of the tour is essential to avoid crisis. The tour must be planned in a logical, client-focused manner. For example, a typical tour problem can be the brake of the car. The team leader must know where to obtain a replacement bus quickly. 3 years ago, I was with the group in Italy, and one day before, the flight was cancelled. I had 5 wheelchairs. You can't imagine what I went through, but then I managed to find the next flight, and we landed in Poland safely. But we stayed in Rome 1 day longer. A checklist of tasks and questions is important to know the needs and abilities of each member of the group to understand the access of requirements. The next step is necessary to contact the venue, either by phone or email to ask about accessibility issues like access to the venue, renting equipment, availability of the tourist guide, accessible toilets, and etc. Since some clients who use wheelchairs need adapted vehicles with a ramp or a lift, the organizer also has to arrange that and take care. Before confirming the service, the client should be presented with the itinerary and the price. To check if the client was satisfied with services, the customer can be asked to fill in the customer satisfaction survey after the tour. Can I have the next slide? Of course, the best way to check access requirements is to visit a place personally. But of course, it's not always possible. As I have already mentioned, we have to contact the venue or other providers by emails, by phone, asking as many questions as possible. Don't be afraid to ask the questions. Also, we can ask for sending the photos or videos. The good search of information is social media, where we can find the opinion of the hotel, of the services. Can I ask for the slide number 6? So as you can see, my presentation was very short, but I hope that I managed to highlight to some extent the process of developing a truly accessible tourist offer and meeting customer demands. Of course, I have listed only the most important steps of preparing a tour. Now I would like you to invite to watch a short video from the organized tour for people with disability requirements to the World Heritage Site Sintra Park in Portugal. And the tour was organized in 2002 when the COVID was starting. Yes. But we managed, that's why we are wearing the masks. And just invite you, and then I invite you for the discussion afterwards. Ivor, you can start.
As tourism is slowly rebounding after the impact of COVID-19 travel restrictions, people with disabilities and those with other access requirements wish to travel again to visit tourist attractions in other countries. This is a short guide on how to organize a day tour for travelers with mobility impairments in the Parque de Sintra Heritage Monuments and Gardens located in Portugal. It is an example that can be used by organizers of tours to other rural and natural areas. A tour operator organizing this type of activity must make a thorough check of all facilities and services in advance to ensure a good experience for everyone. A checklist of tasks and questions is necessary for checking the accessibility of the venue when preparing the tour. First, it is important to know the needs and abilities of each member of the group to understand their access requirements. The next step is to search for the information. The internet is a good source of information. At this website, there's a lot of information about facilities and services for visitors with mobility impairments. Next, it is necessary to contact the venue, either by phone or email, to ask about the services that are provided regarding accessibility, like access to the venue, renting equipment, availability of a tourist guide, accessible toilets, etc. Since some clients who use wheelchairs need adapted vehicles with a ramp or a lift, the organizer must arrange this for them. Now the clients can be presented with the itinerary. If they accept the arrangements and the price, then the service at the venue can be confirmed. To check if the clients have enjoyed the day tour, they can fill in a customer satisfaction survey afterwards. The group is boarding an accessible vehicle with a lift. The driver makes sure that all wheelchairs are fastened properly. The group with the guide is driving to Sintra for visiting Montserrat Museum. Special permission was granted to get as close as possible to the entrance. The staff member is waiting for the group. The special device called Swiss Track has been booked in advance. The staff member explains how to use it. Since the area is a bit bumpy and steep, the person in the wheelchair will be able to drive and overcome all the obstacles. The venue is accessible for visitors with mobility impairments thanks to several adaptations. The special ramps are fixed in the park and at the entrance to the museum. There are 2 toilets for wheelchair users, one in the park and another one in the museum. The guide is guiding the group. Only the ground floor of the palace is accessible for visitors with mobility impairments. The group is coming out of the palace. In spite of poor weather, they seem to have enjoyed the visit.
Thank you. Thank you for your attention. Any questions?
Margaret, that's fine. I
Yes.
think we've been struggling a bit to coordinate some of these presentations. We didn't succeed to get the videos embedded properly in all of the presentations, which is really weird. Thanks. Anybody in the chat there has? I can see we've got some comments already from Danelli and Momen talking about also support animals, not only for visual impairment, also for certain health conditions like seizures. That's right. That was Katarina who was talking about the assistance animals. So I think we've had a good presentation of around the clock, really, looking at all kinds of different aspects that are covered in these how-to guides. I'm just acutely aware of the timing now, and I would like to just flick back quickly to take myself out of the other presentation now and Katarina's presentation. We did have, let me just share with you the slides again to see where we are. We were going to have a short break, and this was a long time ago. We should just have reached the point now where I'm going to give a presentation about bringing the accessible offers to market and promoting the accessible tourism product. I think actually I'm going to skip that one, and I will point you to the website where we can where people can find all the information that they need, and just with the caveat that the final documents there are the ones that are not produced yet, but they will be polished and uploaded within the next 2 to 3 weeks. So if you don't mind, without the short break, I just want to take you briefly to the tool which we've created for looking at the progress or the status of the accessibility of a business. And there's just a little presentation here I wish to show you very shortly, and then we'll take a look at the actual tool on the website. So just sharing this PowerPoint here. What we have here is just the front page of the Access IT web tool. It's available at webtool.accessit.pro.eu. And as you can see, this tool is in all the languages of the project, English, Polish, Spanish, Bulgarian, French, and Italian. And this requires a login, which is very simple, very straightforward. You just log in and from there you can, as a business owner or anyone working in a business, or just if you want to see how it works, we can take you to the web tool. I'll just go one step forward here if I can. I'm going to give just this short walkthrough of the tool to see it really examines how you're doing in terms of accessibility, what you need to improve. And it's a reinforcement of going back to the guidelines and exploring those and working on them. So the tool itself, it has 5 topics. The first is the accessible tourism visitor experience. How are you doing on that? You take a test, you see your score, and then you will be able to take the test again. Either this is actually a factual test of what you have actually done and what you're actually doing to prepare your product. So it's not an opinion survey, it's a test of what's being done on the ground. The second one is about information. The third topic is the design of your accessible tourism services. The fourth is on the marketing. And the fifth is on participation and how you are working with local community, etc. So I'll stop sharing this one and we'll do one more jump. If you can bear with me, we'll do one more jump back to the website of the tool. Yeah, here's the tool itself, just sharing again here. Are you seeing the tool now?
No.
No, that's because I need to just check out one thing. Here you go, Firefox again, share again. Now you might see it, yes. So this is actually myself. I'm logged in here as a fictive provider. I've taken this test, the Accessible Tourism Visitor Experience test, and I can repeat the test. I only scored 33. So I'll just show you how it works. We go into this to repeat the test. So I'm going to English. I've done, oh, it's logging me out. I logged out. So let's go in again. And I've just put in my information here quickly. I don't know if it'll show you my login, my password. Let's see. Okay, I accept the terms and conditions and I can go straight in, I think. So sorry, I should be logged in. Yeah, okay. There we go. I'm repeating the test now. So what are the kind of questions we're looking at here? Questions like on accessible tourism and visitor experience. There are statements and you rate with the highest and lowest answer what is applicable to you. So my organization has reviewed the accessibility of our website, printed publicity materials, and other means of communicating with customers. You may have started on this job, or I may have started on this job, so I would indicate with a second level, not the highest. It's not perfect. It's not an accessible website, which can be given the symbol of web accessibility, but we're working on it. So that would score somewhere at this end of the scale towards highest, and so on. Does it have a section dedicated, does the website have a section dedicated to information for clients with disabilities and or other specific access requirements? There's an additional statement coming onto the website here just to explain that you should click yes is highest and no is lowest, but this was a no. So if we don't have that specific information on our website, you're going to answer no there, or lowest. My organization offers information to customers regarding availability of accessible transport. So if that's provided, you're up at this end, the highest scale or the lowest. So that's the way it works. Not many questions, 7 questions. I could change a couple of these to more optimistic results. Our staff has been trained to cater for customers with disabilities or other specific access requirements. My organization engages with customers regarding feedback and my organization has a contact person who handles suggestions and complaints. This is very important, and that's indicated now with a yes. So having done that, the evaluation comes up 62%, and then you get a message telling you what you've scored and referring you to the guidelines, of course, and then you can go on to the next section and the next section. We've done that already, so we can submit that again. We go to the next section, and this one has not been filled in before, but the method is the same. So the idea is to answer the questions about your accessible tourism services. This one, for example, my organization identifies funding sources and other resources that may be needed in terms of staff training, consultants, structural improvements, regional, national, or European calls. That was referring to funding. So it takes, again, as I've said before, a 360 view of what needs to be done to improve the accessibility of the business. Oh, okay, it reminds me I have to answer some of the questions and then submit. And going forward, in the same way, we can, again, I'm doing dummy answers to questions on marketing. Are you part of an accessibility information or labeling scheme? Probably most are not, but still you can put information on your website, and you can also use the PAN2 access statement, which is one of the ways of qualifying your information. And then again, we come to the last one on participation. My organization cooperates with a local destination marketing organization. They do. Networking with local businesses, public organizations, informs about campaigns for raising awareness, carries out fundraising actions, has used public funding and incentive schemes for financing accessibility improvements. So then we get the final score. And on that basis, we can view then the results. And the results are given with this kind of spider's web diagram for the overall performance. Now, this is dated, and this gives the score breakdown, and then this classifies me falling within the range of 40% to 59% on average as a so-called follower. So we're making some progress, but we're still way behind the best, but we're way ahead of the novice. So for each of these, there is a suggestion of what to do right away on the things that have not been so good. And one of these is also to use, as we said, the PAN2 access statement template. Now, I could take you just briefly, because part of my presentation should also look at what you do after this. And what we are suggesting to all the participants, all businesses, is actually to use the Accessible Tourism Directory, the PAN2 Accessible Tourism Directory. This is a platform that ENAT has created already a few years ago to do part of the study of accessible tourism in Europe, which is really just a big search tool of a database with about 900 businesses, which have entered themselves as being accessible. You can, as a supplier, you can register yourself free of charge if you have an accessible tourism offer. And you can search as a visitor or as a business by country. We list the European countries first, but it can go all the way around the world. So I know there's even something from Armenia in the database. So let's just have a look and see what we have in Armenia. Oh, it's fallen out. Okay, this is happening because some businesses have actually collapsed due to COVID. So that one is not there anymore, and that's a recent loss. But we can look, for example, at somewhere like Greece. Why not? And apply this. And we're just looking at 3 of the travel agencies in Greece at the moment. There are other types. If we look for other accessible services, I'm not sure why there were only 3. There were many more than that. But what you get here is a profile page. So this is what the supplier has. You can see the logo, you can see a map of where that's located, and a service description. So this is a way of getting your information in front of eyeballs, as we say, in front of people's eyes. It's a specialist service for businesses that have made efforts to make improvements to their accessibility. And it's a way of promoting yourself and your activities once you have taken the step. You have also to carry out your own survey, which is an accessibility declaration of a Pantu access statement. And I can just take you to this Pantu access statement here. Actually, not for that one, but the Pantu access statement is described under suppliers. And this is a tool which Katarina talked about for enabling you to make a question, to answer some questions about the status of your business. And there is also the photo and measurement guide on this page. Now, at the moment, we are developing this as a digital tool, but when you use this version 2, it's a Word document that you can identify. It wants to throw it into into the folder. Okay, but you can always go and look at this. We'll put the links, or the link to pantu.org is already in the chat. I can see there are some other chat comments now. So yeah, okay. Yeah, that was really as far as I wanted to take you through the web tool, to give that overview of what there is available. And I know we've been hacking around trying to have a nice flow for this training. And when we do the editing of the video, I'm sure it will be much smoother. We will take out all the knots and the bumps. I would like to invite anyone now to come with a comment. Maybe first just the trainers themselves, my teammates who didn't really get a good crack at it. If you want to add anything to the information that we've just presented, then I'll be very happy to hear from you now. And otherwise, I'm just flicking back to my presentation. I want to take you to there's a link that I need to just take to show you. I'll put this in the chat. This is actually for the evaluation of the training, but we can just load it now so that you will have this available. And so anyone from the team, if you'd like to make any comments, please do drop in.
Yes, I just I just wanted to say, because sorry, I didn't have the time with this, how can I say, internet failure. What is important in this project and in these guidelines, as we have talked so many times in other projects, and we continuously talk to businesses, it's that it is important to understand this market and to know the requirements, and to understand, as also Anna Gracia pointed out in the beginning, that it is important for everyone, because some disabilities, some impairments are also hidden, but maybe they can occur an injury or something during the trip. So that is important. The other thing is to start and doing improvements, small improvements, as it was shown in the video, because when we say an accessible facility, the question is accessible for whom? Because there are many different kinds of people with impairments. So having a global understanding of the requirements, it is important to make improvements step by step and never stop, because this is an endless approach. We can always make improvements, and not only for the physical environment, but also for the services we offer. If it is the website, if it is the waiter service, if it is how we present the information of the menus. So this is important for the businesses, and this is what we tried in these guidelines to give to the businesses to understand how important it is, and it is not so difficult as it seems. With the appropriate training and understanding, it's more clear, and businesses should go forward for the quality of the offer.
If I may say something,
Yes, please.
that's also important. We've just been through the web tool that is checking somehow where the tourism operators stand. And it's important, as Caterina said, many times we hear that someone is advertising himself as accessible. Besides the fact that accessibility is different for any single customer, because we all have our own requirements, but it's also important for them to measure exactly where they stand. Because it's not a question of criticizing what they haven't done until now, but it's simply a starting point. You know where you are, and the system is pointing out possibilities of improvement. It's not negative, it's positive, so that you can start planning your strategies, and it's the point where you start considering passengers, customers with disabilities as an important target for your business. And I think this is absolutely the basic point for anyone who is attracted by this market, but it doesn't know exactly how to do it and how to position their business in a correct way. And so I think this is a very, very important tool that you should go through many, many times in order, first of all, to know where you are, but also to follow the suggestions and the tips that the system is providing in order to plan your improvements, also in the medium and long term, but without trying to do it immediately or losing time to fear that you're not the right one to do it.
Thank you. Anyone else like to come in?
Now,
Yes.
as I said, don't be afraid and scared of disabled clients. And remember that it's not only business, but you are doing something good for them, yes? And which, of course, they appreciate later. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm quite aware that when you've heard from our presentations and the how-to guides and so on, we've tried to pitch this the messages about accessibility here at a level where the absolute beginner can come in, and perhaps some of you in the audience today have already got a lot of experience already, or you have had some experience which puts you ahead of a lot of people. But I would just like to say that really, when you hear the phrase, okay, accessibility, it isn't rocket science. It may not be rocket science, and you don't approach it as a science. I think you have to approach it from the point of view of changing the mindset and the way that you think about your business. Because what we've seen in a lot of businesses that have taken part in some of our experimental work, we've built also in ENAT a world program on tourism for all, a quality program, which is suspended at the moment because of COVID. But we built this program with a group of hotels in Ireland that were very interested to improve their accessibility individually for the hotels, but also as a destination in Kerry in Ireland. And that was a great experience because they were basically starting from scratch, but they had great ambitions to improve the accessibility because it improves their market share and because it gives them a better reputation. And we could see them going through all the stages that you've heard about today, of starting with small steps, but also moving up rapidly to the training, which is one of the most essential things, that everyone in the business should be part of the training and to understand what it is we're trying to do. And that's why I say it's part of the mindset, that once you've started seeing accessibility issues and problems here, there, and everywhere, and talking about them and putting them in your weekly meetings, putting accessibility in a team meeting as an agenda point to discuss with your staff and with your colleagues, then it becomes something very tangible. And it means that you can start to make plans to improve your business. And I think that this can be expanded, not just from the business itself, but the fifth guide that we didn't talk about really, but it's about participation, it's about networking, and it's about joining together with others in the destination so that you make your destination an accessible destination, working together with other businesses that complement yours and that tourists are also coming to enjoy other activities and attractions and venues. Binding this together with that transportation, which is a key issue in natural and rural areas. It's a particular problem in the rural areas because transport is typically, well, difficult to reach, difficult to get, and coming very public transport indeed, if it's even there, can be very difficult. So it takes a lot to raise a business, but also to raise a destination up to the level of being accessible for many people. And that's why it's in the end a job of participation and cooperation, collaboration. We say this many times in many contexts, but it's something that we talk about with policymakers to make them aware that it's also their responsibility, the local politicians and government officials, to make sure that services are adequate for rural areas as well as for the cities. It's a key issue that comes up time and time again. If I can just reflect briefly on the work of some of our colleagues and our partners in this project. One is Rural Tour, which is an organization of small businesses, quite small businesses that are working across Europe in different member states to improve the conditions and to also inform about how to run a small business in a rural area. And for them, this was their first project in the area of accessibility. And they were the ones who filmed in the film that Katarina showed in Spain, of a typical, very small business that's never been concerned or bothered with accessibility, but found that if they're going to stay in the market, if they're going to reach their customers, they need to think about accessibility and start advertising and promoting their accessibility. So one last word from me would be that whatever you do, put it on your website, tell people about it, and make sure that it's part of your marketing effort to show that you have an accessible offer. Even something so small as offering, yes, as we said before, for the assistance dogs are allowed. We provide a bowl of water for your dog, and there's a place where he can go to the toilet. Things like this. They may be very small, but they can make a huge difference when you provide a message to people that they are welcome, and we are trying our best to include everybody in our destination, in our offer. So I'll stop with that. We've still got a few minutes left if anyone would like to come back on anything. Yeah, I've put in the chat the link that we would like you to use for evaluating the training course after this. Okay, anyone else?
Hi.
Martin again. Hi, Martin.
I love questions.
Yeah.
I have I wrote it in the chat really. It's a question if this if the tool, the web tool that you presented, is accessible for visually impaired people.
So we have we've had a team looking at that, and it should be accessible. So I haven't been responsible for checking that, but we did have that in one of the parameters of the company that made it. Yeah.
Then it should be fine.
I hope so, because web accessibility is like one of the universal characteristics. We have to practice what we preach. And of course, the scales, you know, I showed you, you can see the visual output from the scores, but that is also available. You get the definition of the answers and the average and so on. But yeah, that's something that's also very important across the board.
I asked because I actually saw a presentation about, I don't know if you have heard, a device that goes in the front of the shoes to help people with visual impairment navigate, to walk instead of it's not instead of the cane because it doesn't go 3D, but it helps detect big obstacles. And I sent a link to a person I work with who is visually impaired, and she said, I can see the website, it's not accessible. A website about an accessibility device for visually impaired people is not visually impaired accessible. And so now I ask every time.
But it's good. I mean, yeah, you shouldn't need to ask, and people shouldn't be in that position. But I mean, web accessibility is it's a huge barrier for many businesses. It takes some special skills to create accessible websites. But the very interesting thing is that at policy level, at European level now, with the European Accessibility Act, it's important to take this into account. There will be legal implications eventually for those who don't make their websites accessible. It's not a demand at the moment, but it's coming. It's going in that direction. So I think we're coming just to the end of our time now. Anyone else? Otherwise, I will say thank you for this small event with the various hiccups. And I think with the edited video afterwards, you will all be able to enjoy a smoother presentation. I'd really like to thank you for your comments in the chat, which we will also save and keep and share. We will share the slides, those presentations as well with you. You can go back to the ENAT website where this event is listed, and the information from here, the video, the slides, and any other information will be posted on that page, so you can find it there. Okay, it might take a week or two, but it will be there. Thank you very much for your participation and your interest. And as I've said before, well, thank you very much and good luck with all your efforts. And as I say, in terms of the marketing and promotion, tell us about your experience. Come back to us. We're at www.accessibletourism.org, and you can write to us there. You can join ENAT. In fact, it's free of charge at the moment. We've waived the fees for individuals and small businesses because of COVID, which will be through to the end of the year. So thank you very much for being with us. Bye-bye for now.
Thank you, and bye-bye to everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye-bye.